Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. Welcome to my fish room full of natural aquariums. What I want to do today is give you guys a complete tour, tank by tank, and show you what they're all about. I want to show you exactly how my dirted, filterless, no-wear aquariums are not only possible, but they're sustainable. I also want you to see exactly how thinking outside the box and taking a step back into nature is truly more than just a slogan to me. It's something that I live by within my fish room. And I really hope the passion that I truly have for this hobby can be shown through my aquariums to you guys at home, and I hope you love them as much as I do. I guess to start this tour off, let's do it with the two tanks that I hear most. That's not possible. You can't do that, which actually drives me more to want to be able to accomplish it. That's my Faka puffer and my Oscar cichlids that I keep in dirted, no filter, no air aquariums. So this is my 75-gallon aquarium that houses my Faka puffer, who's hiding back in the corner at the moment. So this tank has been a battle over the last year. I set this up probably just about a year ago. And my issue with this tank to begin with is that I didn't put enough plants in it to begin with. And I created a complete and utter chaos of algae within it and cyanobacteria. I spent months and months trying to figure it out, doing things I know I shouldn't do, just in order to have to go back to what I really did to begin with, which was do nothing, turn the lights down, and it went away on its own. And the plants have really been starting to come in. Now I have some guppy endler mixes in here. They are mostly to eat little bits of algae or leftover waste that my Faka puffer has. And he does pick them off once in a while, but they're safer as they're smaller. I have loads of different plants in here. And like I said, this is a dirted aquarium. And what I did to do that is I put a thicker cap on top of the sand over the dirt. So in hopes that if my Faka would decide to want to bury itself, that he couldn't get down to that dirt layer. My Faka puffer never really buried itself into the sand very deep to begin with, so I really didn't have too many concerns with this guy in that respects. I do have a wave maker in here. I also have one in the Oscar cichlid tank. Now the reason being for that is I like to be able to push the water a little bit over the heater, because this is some of the few tanks I have to keep heaters in because of being tropical fish. And with the bigger tanks, it's nicer to be able to get a little bit of water movement to be able to push that heat around, so it's just not stagnant warm at the top and cold at the bottom, especially for the winter months, which is coming for me. So like I said, this tank has been doing great the last few weeks for sure to the month. The plants, like I said, have really been taking off, and this Faka puffer is so personable typically. I don't know why he's hiding right now. He was just out before. He's usually always out wanting food and begging for food and all that. If you see the pits in the sand everywhere, that's from him. He likes to do that when he's looking for snails. He'll blow the sand around and make little pits to try to find snails. Because when he was a baby, this tank was loaded with Malaysian trumpet snails, and that's how he found food as well. He learned that by blowing the sand around, he could usually find them and eat them. Well, they're not in here anymore, and any snail that does come into play in this aquarium winds up getting eaten. So this is my 75-gallon aquarium with my Faka puffer. I will put a little bit of footage of him in here so you can see him a little better, because he's being a little poop hiding in the corner right now. But I'm extremely excited for the way that this tank has turned out in the last month or so. Like I said, the algae issue is pretty much almost gone. Cyanobacteria is completely gone, and the plants are really starting to take off, and I absolutely love it. Now this is my Oscar cichlid tank. Now this is probably the biggest one that people always tell me that it's not possible. You can't do it. It's not going to work. Well, for a few reasons. I have a few videos out on it, but one, the substrate. I did put a egg crate. I put the dirt layer down. I put some sand, egg crate, and I capped it with more sand. That way this guy could never dig into the sand to get deep enough to get to that soil. He'll never reach the soil. The next thing is people say you're never going to be able to keep them in here with plants. Well, my problem solving with that was you get the Oscar as a baby. You get them small. You put them in here so they're used to the plants. And so far he loves them. He likes to hide in them and he sits back there. But obviously that will remain to be determined as he gets even bigger. He's about, I don't know, maybe about 6 inches long, 7 inches tops right now. And he doesn't bother the plants so far. But what I did also is I put some swords in, different types of swords and crypts in here. And then these stem plants I've had in here for a while, so they should be rooted good. And on top of that, the roots are going to get intertwined with the egg crate underneath. So it'll be harder for them to pull them out. Not impossible, obviously, but like I said, remains to be seen with this one. Like I mentioned before, this also has a wave maker, really only to circulate the water around for the heater, and that's about it. But this guy's been doing great. Like I said, knock on wood, if I have some here. It continues to go that way. I absolutely love this fish. He's just as personable as my Faka puffer, who was hiding before, but this guy's out, and he loves to eat as well. And the plants in here are just going gangbusters. Those Liligia and Pogostemon stellatus octopus has all reached the top a few times already, and I keep trimming them up. I did have issues with cloudy water in this tank for a little while, but it has since decreased and gone away and run its course and balanced itself. And again, I haven't done a water change on this tank or my Faka puffer tank in probably like 3 or 4 months. And the water parameters are perfectly fine. And that is entirely possible with these bigger fish and these type of systems. You just got to trust yourself into knowing that it is possible and do your research, and anything is. Now, also on this rack, up above here, this is like my little breeding makeshift experiment area. Right now in this 5-gallon tank, I have a bunch of Medaka rice fish fry. I don't know if we're going to be able to see any right now. There's a couple down there. And their eggs were in here where they're hatching, and as they hatch, I pull them in there. I got these from a buddy of mine, Scott from Raising Fishes. I'll put his little link up above, but go check him out. It's very cool, and I appreciate him sending me these eggs to be able to hatch out. So I'm having fun with that. I also have a few other little jars of dirted aquariums in the back, which I'll be doing a video on in a little bit. And then this jar is some culture that had a bunch of cyclops in it and dead leaves, which I plan on putting in here, which will be another video in the near future, because we've all heard of resurrection jars, but I want to make a resurrection tank that's going to be permanent. So that's that. So that's my little Oscar cichlid tank and that rack with it. Let's move on to the next. Now, this is my most recent tank. This is my 55-gallon natural aquarium. This is the only one that is not dirted in my fish room. The reason being is I really wanted to experiment a little bit. I've kept aquariums with just sand and gravel before and mixes of the two, and have been successful, but I really think when we think of natural aquariums, it's usually always dirted aquariums. Now, dirted aquariums are natural aquariums, but not all aquariums have to be dirted to be natural, in my opinion. And I want to push that a little bit in here. But plants are just going in like crazy. I put this lily in from my pond, and it was throwing up lily pads and flowers in the past. It's kind of slowed down. It might be getting a little stagnant and going dormant. I do have these shoots coming up, but it may start to not really throw lily pads anymore, but we shall see. I got a bunch of other plants in here, and what I plan on putting in here is an axolotl. Now, I kind of hinted towards it in my video when I showed this tank, and eventually I will be getting one. I'm just waiting. It's for my daughter. We're just kind of waiting for one that fits the color that she wants, the color morph she wants, and we find one that kind of just happens to fall into our lap at that time, so I'm in no hurry. In the meantime, the plants can really come in and start to hold themselves down in the substrate before they come in. Now, I have another idea as well with the I have a few Amazon swords in here, and this lily is to do something to give them some more nutrients at that root level if I have issues, because I don't plan on using fertilizers and root tabs in here. I have another idea. That one you'll have to stick around for, because that will be an upcoming video. But in the meantime, I have a bunch of guppy endlers that I had from my summer tubs out here. And I also love this tank because I don't have a back on it. Well, the downfall is you can see everything in my basement behind here when I shoot this way, but I can see it from both sides, and I think that's absolutely awesome. Let's move on to the next. Now, this is the rack with my 29-gallon aquariums. We'll start with the one up here. This houses my rainbow shiners. If you've seen a recent video, I had a little bit of a tragedy with these guys, and I lost 3 of them. I had them in some 10-gallon tanks that I was trying to breed them in, and for some reason, 3 of them died. I don't know why or the reason even yet. I haven't even changed the tanks out yet from those 10 gallons, which you'll see in a little bit. they're still there, and it's a little depressing, but it is what it is. I have 1 female and 3 males, so I'm going to have to get some in the future, but the tank itself is doing great. The biggest thing with this one was when I first got these guys, this thing was heavily planted with lots of guppy grass and dwarf sage, and it was thick from the front to the back. I had no flow, and these things weren't happy. They were hiding all the time and very skittish. Once I opened this up a little bit, I put a rock pile in here, and then I put a wave maker in here to be able to push some water current, which this fish absolutely loved. They went crazy right away, and it was a trigger for them to start throwing off their colors and breeding behavior and just being happy fish all in general. So I think it's really highly beneficial to really research the fish that you're going to have and make sure you kind of put them in conditions that they like, because it's only going to be beneficial for you and for the fish, because they're going to absolutely love it. But this tank is doing great. It's got my blue dream shrimp in here as well. And plants, like I said, they're just growing great. And I like having this open space for them to be able to swim around. And I will be getting some more in the future. I just don't know when, but that's the case. Now, let's pop down to the one below. And this is my white cloud minnow tank, and it also has my red really shrimp in here. It's a little cloudy for some reason. I haven't been able to get it to uncloud. Some tanks of mine, okay, as you're going to see in another tank in a little while, when I first set them up, maybe in a month or 2 later, I run into cloudy water. And it just happens to be part of the balancing cycle with these no filter, no air, dirted aquariums. And I run into them in just about, I would say 90% of all the aquariums I set up. They might last for a couple days and might last a couple weeks. My Oscar tank lasted about 3 months before it cleared up. So it will clear up. It just takes time, and there's really nothing you can do but just wait it out, no matter how annoying it might be. But in the meantime, these things look really cool. These white clouds are awesome. I've been able to breed these guys. I started with 10 of them. I have about 30 of them here of all different sizes. And I haven't had any luck of trying to community breed them. They don't do it. They eat the eggs. They're prolific egg eaters, apparently, because I've never seen a baby even in here. I've had to take them out and try to breed them separately to have any luck. But I hope to be able to breed this colony a little more, because I really want to put these guys in my summer tubs next summer. My big summer tub is my plan. And then these red really shrimp, which are everywhere. These things are just breeding like crazy. It's just insane. I started with 10 of these guys as well, and I probably got well over 100 of them already. I've already got to take them out, and I have them, well, I have a tub down here that's full of red really shrimp as well, and some other odds and end plants, just to kind of keep breeding them for not only a secondary colony of them if something would only happen, but I can use them for selling when I go to swaps in the future. But this tank's doing great plant-wise once this cloudy water gets past it. But yeah, I absolutely love these guys. These white clouds are very energetic and very cool to watch. And I can really see why these young ones are called the poor man's neon. And from there, let's come over to this tank here, which is my other 29-gallon. Now, this one houses my koi swordtails. They used to be in my 20-gallon tank, and now they're in here. What I did is I had a little swap around. What I did is I ran into an issue where I found some planaria worm in this tank. They were infested in here, to be honest with you. And I had my metano rice fish in here, which is a rarer rice fish. And I moved them to another tank, which I'll show you in a little bit. So my idea was to put the swordtails in here, because this planaria could have potentially been eating the eggs of my rice fish, where these guys are live bearers and it really isn't going to affect anything, and I don't have shrimp in here. So that's what I did, and they liked a little bit of extra space, I think, too. And I really love the color of these guys. They're just gorgeous, and they're hiding in here. I got probably like 10 of them, but they don't breed very prolifically, and I'm getting a little frustrated with that. So that's going to come in turn with the next tank up above. And this is my other 29-gallon that houses my high fin blue coral varieties. These things as well, like, I love their color. They're very cool, especially with the ones that actually got the high fin morph in them. They're very, just very colorful, and I actually love them, but they're really not breeding either. And it's starting to get, oh my gosh, wait a minute. There's a baby. That's the first baby I've seen in how long. So maybe they are breeding in here and I just haven't noticed it, but I haven't seen numbers. So my plan was to take these guys and put them down in here with the swordtails. Now they can breed together. They can have babies together and interbreed. Now, is that an issue if you want to keep a clean line? Absolutely. I don't really care. I want to be able to see what'll come out between those guys and the swordtails. I think it would be a cool combination, because what I want to do with this tank then is I want to make this tank for those baby Medaka rice fish that I have up in that 5-gallon I showed you before, and this will become their tank. So that's the plan. Unless I get an explosion of babies in here like I just seen that one. We'll see. But that's the plan with those guys, and this is my 29-gallon rack. Let's move on to the next wall. And then that leads us to this 20-gallon long, which was actually my first ever dirted aquarium. Now, I can't remember how old it is, if it's 4 or 5 years old or something like that, but it's doing phenomenally, as you can tell. Now, this houses those rare Matano rice fish I was talking about before. I put them in here. Now, they are very, very skittish. If I try moving this closer to them, they probably will take off, but they were not as skittish in this other tank. I had them actually having eggs on them every morning. I would see. I haven't seen them since I moved them. I think I spooked them a little bit, but they will come to again eventually. Now, there's cherry shrimp in here as well, but this showstopper of this tank, in my opinion, are these crypts that just keep propagating and growing. And the contrast between that brown and the green, I absolutely love it. These fish themselves, like I mentioned before, are not only rare, but they have these really cool blue eyes when you see them from the top. It's very outstanding and very cool. And I really hope to be able to breed them in the future, because I think not only because they're rare, to be able to help push the line of these guys, but just to be able to accomplish that. I love trying to breed things within my fish room. Just to set goals for myself, to try to challenge myself, if you can't tell already with the Oscars and the Fakas, to be able to try to challenge myself and to do things, just to set goals for myself to be able to do them. I don't know. It's just fun for me. I love trying to challenge myself is what I'm trying to say. And this breed of fish will be another one. I got these guys from LRB Aquatics, and I absolutely love them, and I can't wait for them to start actually breeding in here. And the tank itself, like I said, is doing phenomenally about 4 or 5 years in. I've had no issues with plants dying off or anything. It's all still sustainable and thriving. And then we can move on to my 20-gallon tall. Now, as you can tell, this water is cloudy. This is one of the newer tanks I've set up this past summer, and like I mentioned before, I go through bouts of cloudy water with these aquariums. When I first set them up, they need to balance each other out. The plant growth in this tank is bar none amazing compared to a lot of my other tanks to begin with. This Ludwigia, I have had to trim at least 5 times, 6 times already, and it helps propagate them throughout my fish room. But that being said, like I mentioned earlier, every tank I set up, probably like 90% of them, goes through bouts of cloudy water. Whether it lasts a couple days or a couple months, it always rights itself once it balances itself out. This will be no different. I absolutely love these fish that are in here as well. These are my King Yama red-orange Medaka rice fish that I also got from LRB Aquatics. These things are awesome. I just love the color of them, and I can't wait to try to breed them as well. We'll see if I can get them to breed in the tank here. Otherwise, I'll get some of them to put outside this summer in a smaller tub and try to be able to breed them that way. This piece of wood in here I got from my brother-in-law. He got them from a family trip when he went to Michigan from an Amish person. He got them actually from Italy. From the story I was told, is that they're roots of an olive tree, and when the olive trees die, they have to remove the roots because they're invasive. And the Amish person got them somehow and sells them, and my brother-in-law was nice enough to grab them for me, and I'm using them perfectly in my aquariums. And I have the other two, if you haven't seen, in that 55-gallon natural aquarium. They're in there. So I absolutely love this tank. Like I said, the plant growth is doing awesome, and I hope that continues. And once that cloudy water goes away, it'll be even better. Now, this is my other 20-gallon tall, and this one's been around for a while, and it used to house my koi swordtails, but now it houses those Taiwanese orange and green double sword guppies that used to be in that 20 long. The population of these guys were kind of going down. They weren't really breeding a lot, but since I moved them, I've been seeing lots of babies in here, and I'm thinking the population is going to start to bolster itself again. I absolutely love these fish and that long double sword tail that they have, and then the colors of them really sparkle. These fish are actually bred by, I don't even know the guy's name, but he's from Taiwan, and it was a master breeder, and they're quite expensive from what I've seen online to get them, but I don't know. I find them to be very cool. And they have to be crossed with an Endler too. It has to be a guppy Endler mix. We got those colors, but who knows? But absolutely love them in this tank. Like I said, the Ludwigia and the Pogostemma stellatus octopus in there kind of gives that great green background of a forest. Then you have the Anibius and the crypts up front that kind of give that texture of the different colors and levels, which I really love as well. So that's that tank. Now this is the last tank in my fish room. This is my, I don't know what gallon it is. It's a hexagon tank. I want to say it's between 20 and 29 gallon. This houses all of my mixed guppy and endlers, the whole colony that I had outside in my summer tubs. I love that the dwarf sage just gets so tall in here and is able to grow tall. And yes, that is dwarf sage. It's not Vallisneria. And what I love about this tank is people tell you with these dirted, filterless, and no air aquariums, you cannot overstock these tanks. You can only keep a small amount of fish in here or it just won't work. Well, look what's in here. There are hundreds of these mixed guppies and stuff in here. They don't thrive. They don't starve for oxygen. I don't ever see them gasping for air at the top of the water in the mornings when I turn the lights on. They're always here. They're always vigorous. They're always swimming around and always wanting food. And they swarm to the top when I put food in here. But yeah, this is just a small little dose of seeing what's in here because there are many, many more that are hiding within those plants. And I absolutely love this tank. I probably should de-weed a little bit of the dwarf sage that's in here a little bit to give a little bit more of an open space for me to be able to see, but it's not necessary. So that's the last tank in my fish room. Well, that was my tour of my fish room of all natural aquariums. I hope you enjoyed my dirted, filterless, no air aquariums, and really thinking outside the box and taking a step back in the nature, like I mentioned before, is more than just a slogan. It's something that I live by, and it's something that you can too. Don't let people dictate to you what you can or can't do. Just because someone says you can't do that, you're not supposed to do that, doesn't mean that you can't. It's up to you if you can or can't do that. So do your research and do your experimenting and figure out if it's something that's viable for you. And that's what's most important in this hobby. What makes you happy and what makes these guys happy. See, he came out. He's not all camera shy. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm also offering memberships to my channel. So hit that join button if you're interested in joining the family. And as always, remember to think outside the box and take a step back in the nature. And I hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.